At a restaurant in the state of New Jersey, USA, something unusual happened. A man confessed that he had stolen a bottle of ketchup from the restaurant, and afterward, he claimed to have received karma for his actions. As a result, he returned with a new bottle of ketchup and wrote a letter of apology, hoping to be forgiven. The restaurant owner saw that the man was sincere and decided to forgive him. The restaurant owner, named DeLeo, shared on his personal Facebook page a photo of the apology letter written by the thief, along with 2 new bottles of ketchup. In the letter, the man admitted that he had stolen a bottle of ketchup from the restaurant. But just hours after that, he experienced his punishment. Someone crashed into his car. Not only that, but since that day, he had been plagued by constant bad luck. Misfortunes kept happening, and his life took a turn for the worse. That's why he hoped that by returning 2 new bottles of ketchup, he could be forgiven and finally let go of the guilt he had been carrying. At the end of the letter, he wrote to the restaurant owner, "Once again, I apologize for the trouble I caused you, and for what it has brought into my life." Although the thief felt guilty, the restaurant owner, Ms. DeLeo, hadn't even realized that a bottle of ketchup had been missing from the restaurant for 10 years. "I'm so used to that sort of thing," she said. "I didn't really pay much attention to it." Later, Ms. DeLeo wrote on her Facebook that he had been forgiven. She also hoped that the thief would no longer feel guilty. This story includes a fascinating phenomenon known as instant karma, meaning that someone receives retribution immediately after doing something wrong within this very lifetime. Traditionally, people have believed that bad deeds only lead to punishment in the next life. But in recent years, more and more cases of instant karma have been reported. People do wrong, and almost immediately they suffer the consequences. So what hidden truth might lie behind this phenomenon? Today, let's talk about the mystery of the law of cause and effect. In Journey to the West, there is a famous ancient saying, "When a single thought arises in the human heart, all of heaven and earth are aware. If good and evil bring no retribution, then the universe must have partiality." This means that whatever thought arises in a person's mind, the entire universe will know it. If good and evil have no consequence, then heaven and earth must be biased. However, we all know that the universe is impartial. Therefore, the concept of karmic retribution is indeed true. In ancient traditional culture, stories about cause and effect were recorded in religious texts and philosophical writings. These records can still be verified today. We also know that the sages and saints of old all considered honesty a fundamental virtue. Yet some people believe that their wrongdoings are done in secret and go unnoticed. But in reality, no one escapes karma. Thanks to the vast wisdom passed down from ancient philosophers, people in the past believed firmly in reincarnation, life and death, and karmic retribution, without any doubt. It was only in modern times, as more people placed their faith in science, that they began to believe only in what could be seen and scientifically proven. As a result, people gradually stopped believing. Events that modern science still cannot explain are often dismissed. Concepts like retribution and reincarnation are regarded by some as mere religious theories and labeled as anti-scientific. That's why, when people bring up religion, it can appear to place science and religion in opposition to one another. In reality, the relationship between religion and science is a historical issue. Let's look back a few hundred years to when science was just beginning to emerge. At that time, many scientists and astronomers challenged the belief that the Earth was the center of the universe, a belief that was mentioned in religious texts. Through observation and scientific reasoning, they proposed that Earth was not the center of the universe. Clearly, this theory contradicted religious doctrine at the time. As a result, when these scientists introduced such ideas, they were persecuted by religious believers. For example, the 17th century Italian astronomer Galileo was imprisoned for life for insisting on this scientific truth. And there was also Giordano Bruno, who was burned at the stake for insisting on the heliocentric theory. So we can see, in the past, people used religion to suppress science, while today, people use science to deny religion. This kind of reversal is itself a reflection of the law of cause and effect, karmic retribution. However, in modern times, the once opposing realms of science and religion have gradually found much common ground. As many have observed in recent decades, scientists and Western medical researchers have presented a large number of research results and real-world cases to show us that many of the phenomena described in religious traditions are indeed real. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss the next exciting adventures. Recently, American scientists discovered through research that karmic retribution, as mentioned in traditional religious teachings, does indeed exist. In one study, they selected a large sample group of nearly 10,000 individuals, and the observation period lasted for up to 9 years. Through such a long-term study, they observed a fascinating pattern. Teenagers with a history of committing crimes or frequently bullying classmates tended to be physically healthier than their peers during adolescence. However, over time, this advantage faded. By the time they reached middle age, their health declined significantly. They were more likely to suffer from illnesses, even physical disabilities. Overall, their health was far worse than that of others in the same age group. This trend was widespread and statistically significant. Regardless of ethnicity, social class, or exercise habits, similar patterns emerged across all groups. As a result, the researchers announced their conclusion: doing good deeds can extend human life expectancy. The reason behind this result is closely tied to factors such as lifestyle habits and a person's mindset. In the field of neuroscience, scientists have discovered a phenomenon like this. When a person maintains kind and positive thoughts, the body produces neurotransmitters that help strengthen cells and boost the activity of immune cells. As a result, people become less susceptible to illness. On the contrary, a negative mindset causes the body to secrete toxins, and the harm these toxins inflict on the body is considerable. In other words, when a person maintains righteous thoughts, the immune system becomes stronger. But when one harbors distorted or negative thoughts, the body shifts in the opposite direction. The negative nervous system is activated while the positive system is suppressed. As a result, the healthy circulation of the body's functions is naturally disrupted. Therefore, people who are kind and honest tend to be healthier and live longer. Of course, many atheists may argue that all of this is merely the result of psychological suggestion. They believe morality is a human construct with no fixed standard. However, in reality, recent scientific research has revealed that good and evil actually carry different energy frequencies and material properties. For instance, newborn babies who have not yet been shaped by social or ideological conditioning naturally display kindness as an innate trait. Another example, when someone is about to lie or deceive, no matter how calm their outward emotions may appear, their internal physiological state still changes, and this can be accurately detected by a lie detector. This suggests that the human body seems to operate based on some objective law of nature. Thoughts and consciousness are not merely psychological notions, but rather a form of subtle material substance. This is exactly why lie detectors are able to accurately determine whether someone is lying. No matter how strong your psychological foundation may be, your body will still undergo difficult-to-explain changes if you harbor negative thoughts. This is because the fundamental nature of everything in the universe is energy. Everything operates and is sustained by energy. Every existing thing possesses a level of consciousness and an energetic frequency. Let's talk about Dr. David Hawkins. Through more than 20 years of research, he discovered that a person's physical and mental state directly affects the rise and fall of the body's vibrational frequency. He classified levels of consciousness on a scale from 1 to 1,000. Any state that causes the body's vibration to fall below 200, approximately 20,000 hertz, will weaken the human body. Conversely, higher frequencies help enhance physical strength. Dr. Hawkins found that right-mindedness and kind intentions, meaning positive, virtuous, and wholesome thoughts, will strengthen a person's willpower and change the vibrational frequency of the particles within the body. This, in turn, improves both physical and mental health. In contrast, wrong-mindedness, such as negative or harmful thoughts, leads to the lowest vibrational states. At that point, we are actively weakening ourselves. These things are harmful to human beings. From these scientific studies, we can see that the idea of good and evil beget consequences is not merely a moral guideline for life. It also serves as a fundamental principle for the development and survival of humanity. These modern studies, in a certain sense, affirm the ancient belief in karmic retribution. Far from being a closed-minded or ignorant notion, it was actually a foundational worldview on life and existence embraced by large segments of people in that era. Moreover, the ancients had an even deeper understanding through the concept of heaven and human resonance, the idea that human beings and the universe are interconnected and influence one another. In modern theories about the origin of the universe, many scholars agree that the universe began from a singularity, a state of primal chaos referred to as Wuji, the infinite void. Wuji gave rise to Taiji, the supreme ultimate. Taiji gave rise to yin and yang gave rise to the four symbols. As Lao Tzu once said, "The Tao gives birth to one gives birth to two gives birth to three, and three gives birth to all things." If you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss the next exciting adventures. If the universe was formed from the Big Bang, then everything in existence was originally a fragment of the same fundamental matter. There must be some form of connection between them, and human beings, as the spiritual essence of all things, are naturally a part of the universe. This reflects the ancient concept of the unity between heaven and man. In classical Chinese philosophy, there is the idea of resonance between heaven and humanity, Tianren Gan Ying, whose theoretical basis is the oneness of heaven and earth. The ancients believed that the way of heaven and the way of mankind, nature and human nature, are fundamentally unified. If what humans create goes against natural laws and harms the environment, then natural disasters and man-made calamities will surely follow. The concept of heaven-human resonance was first proposed by the Western Han philosopher Dong Zhongshu. He anthropomorphized heaven, suggesting that heaven and humans are interconnected. What exists in heaven exists in man. Heaven and man are one. Everything in the human world is guided and arranged by the will of heaven. Dong Zhongshu believed that all human behavior interacts and resonates with heaven. Good deeds evoke good responses, while evil brings about evil consequences, because human beings are an inseparable part of the universe. The ancient sages who developed the cosmological concept of the unity of heaven and man already had a profound understanding of the harmony between humans and nature. In fact, this philosophy offers an even deeper and more thorough interpretation of such phenomena in the universe. We know that the world is made of matter. All matter in the universe is constantly evolving and transforming, and this movement and change follow specific laws. These are the inherent laws of the universe. What we refer to as karmic retribution should more precisely be called the law of cause and effect, because it is a natural physical process of universal motion, not something that can be changed at will. From ancient times until now, sages and wise men have spoken frequently about karmic retribution. This stands as a strong affirmation of the rationality and accuracy of the law of cause and effect. Yet why is it that the more advanced our society becomes, and the more science progresses, the less people seem to believe in karma? So, does that mean many people aren't afraid of retribution? In truth, those who are unaware are not afraid. People who don't fear karmic consequences are simply those who don't believe in them. They think, there's no such thing as karma, so why bother doing good? What's wrong with doing something bad? It's this kind of thinking that leads many people to act without any restraint or moral boundary. They do whatever they like, without considering the consequences. You see, someone who truly believes in karma would never commit cruel acts, because they fear being criticized or judged by others, and they also fear facing retribution in the future and suffering the consequences themselves. Those who don't believe in karma have no sense of reverence or inner caution. They don't believe in reincarnation or cosmic justice, so when they commit wrongdoings, they feel no hesitation. As long as no one finds out, they feel it's fine. They only care about short-term gain, without thinking about long-term consequences. In that sense, if more and more people stop believing in karma, then the problems within society will only become more serious over time. Simply put, the cyclical rule of the law of cause and effect is this: the direction of movement and the end point will ultimately return to the original starting point. In other words, where it begins is where it ends. Let's take a simple example to better illustrate this. The boomerang. A boomerang is a tool used by ancient indigenous Australians for hunting. It is made of wood. When hunting, they would throw the boomerang outward. No matter the direction, no matter how much force is used, the boomerang will eventually return to the hand of the person who threw it. To be precise, based on modern aerospace research, scientists believe that the boomerang functions much like a cleverly designed aircraft. And in reality, one of the fundamental principles of the universe is also cyclical motion, moving in circles or ellipses, ultimately returning to the point of origin. This cycle repeats itself over and over, continuing endlessly. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss the next exciting adventures. Take Halley's Comet, for example. It returns to our solar system every 70 years. It passes above Earth and then travels back into the outer regions of the solar system. Like Halley's Comet, the Sun also orbits around the center of the Milky Way galaxy. It takes tens of thousands of years for Earth to complete one full orbit through the galaxy, but eventually it returns to where it began. And the Milky Way itself revolves around an even larger central point. And so it goes, an endless cycle, infinite and unceasing. Despite this, many people still doubt the existence of karmic retribution, because in real life, they see that many good people not only fail to receive blessings, but are deceived, bullied, and taken advantage of. Some even die young. Meanwhile, those who commit evil deeds seem to live comfortably, enjoy wealth, and live long lives. So how can we explain this? The reason many people are skeptical or disbelieve in karmic retribution is because they feel real-life events contradict moral expectations. Good people often don't receive happiness, while bad people seem to escape consequences entirely. This leads many to question and even reject the existence of karma altogether. In truth, the law of cause and effect is quite complex. We can summarize several observable forms of how karma manifests. 1. One cause, many effects. Same cause, different results. A single cause may produce multiple different outcomes. 2. One effect, many causes. Same result, different causes. One outcome may arise from multiple causes acting together. 3. Many causes, many effects, compound karma. Multiple causes may produce multiple corresponding effects. Once we understand the diversity and complexity of karmic retribution, it becomes easier to answer the question, why do good people sometimes not experience good outcomes, while bad people seem to avoid punishment? In fact, this is only a surface phenomenon. Sometimes, a good person may not yet receive blessings simply because the timing for that reward has not yet arrived. On the other hand, even if someone is doing good in the present, it's possible that in a previous stage of their life, or even a past life, they committed many wrongful deeds. And now, they may be bearing the consequences of that past karma. Those karmic effects may still be playing out and have yet to conclude. In this way, surface appearances can be deceiving, creating a false image where a good person appears not to receive blessings. Similarly, some individuals may commit many evil deeds, yet outwardly seem to live comfortable lives, even gaining promotions and wealth. But this could be because the time for their karmic retribution has not yet arrived. Even if they continue doing wrong in this life, it's possible that in a past life, or earlier in this life, they did some good deeds. They may currently be reaping those blessings, or their accumulated virtue is still ongoing and has not yet been exhausted. As a result, what appears on the surface is merely a false image, someone seemingly wicked who has not yet suffered consequences. I really like this quote. The human world is a grand examination room arranged for every soul. Each soul is using the course of their life to complete a test. Moreover, the test of life is extraordinarily difficult, so difficult that many will fail. Therefore, only truly outstanding souls will be able to express their full potential, earn high marks, and eventually be promoted and elevated. There are people who wish this exam could be easier, saying, if karma manifested instantly in this life, wouldn't that be great? Everyone could see it clearly and understand it completely. But think about it. If everyone who did evil immediately faced retribution, and everyone who did good immediately received blessings, all happening right here and now, if everyone could fully understand and firmly believe in the principle, good begets good, evil begets evil. It's not that there's no retribution, it just hasn't come yet. Then wouldn't that mean the exam answers have already been revealed? In that case, the test and selection process for all souls in the world would become too easy. Or more accurately, such an approach would strip the process of soul cultivation and refinement of its true purpose. Furthermore, it would be unfair to those souls who are genuinely outstanding. There's a profound saying in the Tao of Heaven, if everything in this world were clearly black and white, clearly right and wrong, then this wouldn't be called the human world. It would be called the heavenly realm. Let's return to the story of the thief who stole a bottle of ketchup. the man who experienced instant karma, as we mentioned earlier. If we observe closely, we'll notice that this is quite different from the usual belief that karma only manifests in the next life. In recent years, the phenomenon of immediate karmic retribution happening in this very life has become increasingly common. You only need to go online and search for news or articles related to karma, and you'll find there are countless examples. As you may know, those who have cultivated spiritually to a certain level often acquire special abilities. I've heard some practitioners share that among them are individuals who can see a person's past and future lives. In other words, their previous incarnation and next reincarnation. However, recently, I heard something quite strange, and it might also explain why more people are receiving their karmic consequences in this very lifetime. They said that in recent years, many people no longer have a visible future life. In other words, the number of people who no longer have a next life is steadily increasing. For example, they said that the next life they saw appeared like a scene on a television screen. But for many people, that screen was completely blank. If there's no future life in which to repay karmic debts, then naturally, those debts must be repaid in this lifetime. Master Milarepa once said something truly profound, and I'd like to share it with you for reflection. Our previous life was truly remarkable. It created the body we have now. So in this life, let's not push our future off a cliff. What's your perspective on the law of karma? Do you believe in its existence? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section below this video. And that wraps up our discussion for today. If you found this video meaningful, don't forget to share it with a friend. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss the next exciting adventures.